Good evening. Chief Executive Leung Chun-ying is urging voters to punish opposition lawmakers in the next LegCo elections for wasting time and money by blocking his policy proposals. His plans for a new Innovation and Technology Bureau will be delayed for months because of their filibustering. ATV's Raymond Young reports.
At a luncheon with business leaders today, Chief Executive Leung Chun-ying admitted the deep divide in society over universal suffrage, but he tried to put a positive spin on it.
No doubt there will be disagreements, large, small, and everywhere in between among us, among the good people of Hong Kong.
He insisted that the election of the next chief executive in 2017 by one person, one vote must be conducted within the framework set by the National People's Congress Standing Committee. The final package of proposals he presents lawmakers this summer requires 2/3 of LegCo support, although all 27 pan-Democrats have vowed to veto it.
I've gone on record to say that I'm committed, so my consent as chief executive is not an issue. The NPC Standing Committee has also given its green light in its decision on 31st August last year. Now, all eyes are on LegCo.
He then took aim at opposition lawmakers for delaying the setting up of the Innovation and Technology Bureau, or ITB. A funding request is now being held up by filibustering at the Finance Committee.
We are left with 8 hours after all this filibustering, 8 hours on coming Saturday. If LegCo members, and these are the opposition members of LegCo, do not give up filibustering, we'll probably lose ITB, definitely for a few months. It will be very sad for Hong Kong.
Leung warned the pan-Democrats of consequences in the 2016 LegCo elections.
Hong Kong people should speak up and speak out. And Hong Kong people probably want to cast a vote according to the view on filibustering when it's election day again sometime next year.
But he did not mention his government's plans to boycott the Democratic Party's 20th anniversary dinner later this month. On the radio this morning, former party legislator Fred Lee warned Leung that he will be declaring war against opposition lawmakers if no minister turns up for the event. Lee and his concerned group on political reform released a survey yesterday showing that less than half of Hong Kong people are willing to pocket any package restricted by Beijing's tight framework. The former lawmaker agreed that the pan-democratic camp is becoming radicalized, with moderate members losing ground. But he urged his own party not to go down that road. Executive Councillor Bernard Chan was also pessimistic today about the current deadlock over reform. If Beijing is not making concessions this time, why does anyone think it will in the future? He asked. Chan urged the public to work within the current framework and see how to make the 2017 polls more democratic.
Chief Secretary Carrie Lam was confronted by student protesters when she met them at a youth forum in Chai Wan today to discuss political reform.
I think in a place like Hong Kong, while we value freedom of speech and freedom of expression, we also should emphasize that we look at facts. We try to be as objective as possible and take in the views of other people instead of just imposing one's view on other people.
Students heckled Lam for not facing them directly at universities to listen to their concerns about universal suffrage. Young protesters gathered outside as well to reject the government's reform proposals, but she avoided them. 10 people have been charged with assaulting police in yesterday's violent protests in Tuen Mun against mainland visitors. Tourism chiefs have expressed concern about rising tensions, but they're looking forward to receiving even more visitors from across the border this year. ATV's Alison Chan reports.
It was back to business as usual in Tuen Mun this morning, following yesterday's rowdy protests against mainlanders and parallel traders. The district was bustling again with visitors from across the border, wheeling suitcases and trolleys to stock up on essential goods. Hundreds of angry Two Moon residents took to the streets yesterday, complaining that the influx of mainland shoppers has made life unbearable for them. Police used pepper spray and batons to break up angry mobs who stormed into shopping malls to vent their frustrations. 10 of those who were arrested yesterday have been charged with assaulting police and obstructing their work. While police condemned the violence, government officials were quiet about it today, reflecting the sensitivity when it comes to tensions between locals and mainlanders. Tourism Board Chairman Peter Lam was asked about it this afternoon.
We understand the outcome of the people is protesting about the visitors from mainland China. As I say, it's not very good for Hong Kong image in general, but I can understand it's also jeopardizing the relations between Hong Kong and Chinese peoples.
According to the latest figures from the Tourism Board, nearly 80% of the 60.8 million visitors to Hong Kong last year were from the mainland, a 10.6% rise over the previous year. More are expected this year. But tourism chiefs rejected calls to control the influx of cross-border visitors, stressing the importance of the revenue they bring and the need to keep Hong Kong competitive. Instead, they plan to focus on attracting overnight tourists rather than one-day visitors.
We're spending literally $0 on same-day visitors. And we are spending close to 100% of our resources in the mainland market that is outside of Guangdong. And they have a higher propensity to come to Hong Kong and stay overnight.
Alison Chan, ATV News.
Hong Kong Disneyland has made a profit for the third straight year, jumping by 36% to $332 million. The number of visitors in the financial year up to September 2014 reached a record 7.5 million, although growth was slower. Hong Kong Disneyland's financial magic continued to sparkle as it posted a profit for the third straight year. The theme park on Lantau Island raked in a record $5.5 billion in revenue for the fiscal year up to September 2014, up 12% from the previous year. Its profit surged by 36% to $332 million. Although attendance only rose by 1%, or 100,000, the number of visitors going through the turnstiles was a record 7.5 million people. About half of the visitors were from the mainland and 32% were locals. Customer spending jumped by 11% as the park recorded healthy growth in all its business sectors. A 2013 hit Disney film helped improve the tourist attractions balance sheet.
Obviously, one of the highlights, I would say, last year's is Frozen. Frozen, the success of Frozen has contributed a lot to our, really healthy merchandise sales and revenue.
Hong Kong Disneyland, majority owned by the SAR government, went into the black in 2012 after losing money since opening in 2005. Cam dismissed fears that Shanghai Disneyland, which will open in the first quarter of next year, will draw tourists away from the Lantau landmark. He said the two resorts will cater to different regions. Hong Kong's other major attraction, Ocean Park, announced today that it will provide free Wi-Fi to all visitors. The first phase of the project is expected to be completed by the third quarter of this year. 8 revelers were trapped on a ride that malfunctioned at the Central Waterfront Carnival for nearly half an hour today. The No Limit ride was closed for maintenance after the incident. 8 people were stuck in their seats this afternoon at the end of the ride when the safety restraints failed to automatically go up and release them. 3 more people have died of severe flu, taking the death toll since the beginning of the year to 145. The Center for Health Protection says the number of infections so far has reached 235. In a separate development, mainland authorities are ready to start supplying live chickens to Hong Kong after a suspension lasting more than a month because of bird flu. But only around 1,000 birds will go on sale on Wednesday at the earliest. China has executed mining tycoon Liu Han, who was sentenced to death last year for murder, corruption, and running a mafia-style gang. The billionaire had been linked to disgraced security chief Zhou Yongkang, who is awaiting trial for corruption. ATV's Joyce Wu reports.
Liu Han used to head the Hanlong Group, the biggest private conglomerate in Sichuan province. He was executed today, along with his brother Liu Wei and 3 associates. They were convicted last year of murder and running a mafia-style gang. 32 others who were also arrested were given long jail terms. Liu Han was once one of China's richest persons, and his business empire included interests in Sichuan's mining, power, real estate, and finance sectors. But in court, he was accused of running a criminal organization, which was harbored and indulged by government officials. One of his former business associates was the elder son of former security czar Zhou Yongkang, who is the most senior Communist Party figure arrested and investigated for corruption. State media have not directly linked Liu's case to Zhou, but they noted that the tycoon rose to prominence when Zhou was Sichuan Party chief. The former security chief's detention last year was hailed as a major coup in President Xi Jinping's campaign to snare the tigers along with the flies in his war on corruption. But some political analysts say it also suggests a power struggle in the party that has ruled China since 1949.
Overseas, embattled Australian Prime Minister Tony Abbott has appealed for party unity after surviving a leadership challenge. But he has a rough ride ahead, with 40% of his own party colleagues rebelling against him. Here's Joyce Wu.
Australian Prime Minister Tony Abbott is breathing a sigh of relief, for now at least. He survived a confidence vote following a leadership challenge by disgruntled lawmakers from his ruling Liberal Party. During a secret party ballot this morning, the legislators voted by 61 to 39 against ousting the Prime Minister. A chastened Abbott faced the cameras after the vote.
I've listened, I've learned, and I've changed, and the government will change with me.
He pledged to listen more to his backbenchers, who have been wary of his captain's call style of running the country. The last straw came when he awarded an Australian knighthood to Prince Philip, husband of the British Queen.
So the focus now is once more on jobs, families, a stronger economy, and a secure nation.
Abbott also made a plea for party unity, but with a significant number of lawmakers still harbouring doubts, there are fears that he may be a lame duck leader for the remainder of his 3-year term, which began in 2013. The Prime Minister also has to convince all Australians that he's the right man for the job. Only 24% of voters are happy with Abbott, and if the level stays the same, his own party might decide that his chances of retaining power at the next general election might be better with a new face at the helm.
Egyptian authorities have suspended Football League matches after at least 22 people were killed in a stampede in Cairo yesterday. ATV's Bolang reports.
The sound of sirens